If you could go back in time and you could either vote for Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, who would you vote for?
Most likely Donald Trump.
And why is that?
Ah, man, I mean, just not really big into politicians and just like it seems like they just kind of tell you what you want to hear, so they get your vote and then just do whatever they want when they get into office.
So exactly what Donald Trump's done specifically with the Epstein files?
Sure, not to like divulge into politics, but I really just kind of wanted to jump on here and like ask a question in a sense of like, how do you think, or like, what do you think the best solution into like the diversity, or not the diversity, but like the division of the United States? Like, how would you bring that back together?
Stop supporting people like Trump. Genuinely.
Elaborate. I just
Yeah.
elaborate on that. I
Donald
want to.
Trump is an extremist who incited a violent insurrection at the Capitol, was held civilly liable, bragged about walking to the changing rooms of naked women without their consent, where an 18-year-old came out and said there were 4 girls as young as in these changing rooms when Donald Trump would barge in. He said he would date a girl in 10 years. His tax policy takes away access to free school lunch for children and breakfast, by the way, for children. 420,000 children on average per month, 2.5 million people off their access to food stamps per month, over 10 million people off the access of health insurance in terms of Medicaid, and adds $3.4 trillion to the debt, increases taxes on the working class individuals through the context of tariffs, and then decreases taxes disproportionately on the rich and wealthy. So taking money from the poor and giving to the rich.
Okay, so but how do like what Donald Trump does and what he says, how does that affect me, like in you having a civil conversation, and like just like the guy that's below me right now, I think you call him a dumbass or something.
Mm-hmm.
But like, why? What gave you the retrospect to disrespect him instead of just paying respect and having like a good quality debate? Like he never went at you, never got heated, never said anything to degrade you, but you degraded him. Do
Oh,
you
but
think that that's a problem?
it's okay for him to degrade trans people and reduce their access to health insurance. Was that okay for him to do?
I
Apparently, it's okay for him to degrade marginalized communities. Whenever I degrade him
I
for
think
being
he
an
was I think
idiot
he was
because
more
of
so
his
questioning
position,
it.
no, he wasn't. We went over
He
the
just
same
didn't
point.
agree with you, so you just
Not sure.
were rude to him.
Really, so can you explain to me what his difference was, particularly between trans youth and between cis youth? That means that cis youth should be able to get access to puberty blockers, but trans youth should not be able to get access to puberty blockers? Because simply his only explanation was it's gender affirming care. That's it. That's the only explanation he provided. That's seemingly just like that he wants to not allow for trans youth to be able to get access to medical care that they need determined by doctors, but he's going to allow for cis youth to be able to get access to it when determined by doctors.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be curious to see like the statistics of like before gender affirming care and like the whole transgender became more of a popular deal, what the difference, the amount of puberty blockers that were issued then versus now. I mean, obviously, I think there's a mental crisis in the world. Um, I think what like seven out of the last like nine mass have been transgender.
And that's just not
Correct me
true.
if I'm wrong.
You made that up. That's
I said
totally made
correct me
up.
if I'm wrong.
That's yeah, it's totally made up. Actually, domestic is most likely done specifically by white, straight, cis men in the context of this country who are on the right. That's typically who it's done by. If you look at the statistics, disproportionately men, especially, right? Are you going to blame men for violent crime?
Not necessarily, no.
No, even though they make up over 90% of violent crime.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I have no idea. I don't sit here and study statistics and stuff like what you do. I would just more so like inside of like my small community, I care about politics like more so here that I have more of a control over in the grand scheme of things, and more so like focus on the relationship between like people in the community and how you can solve, instead of
Do you think
making the
you
world more of a
claiming
dive like a
do you think that you claiming trans people are predominantly the people committing mass in this country when it's objectively wrong and there's no studies or evidence to indicate that that's true, right, is actually more divisive? Or do you think that is particularly going to be bringing people together?
I think it's statistically they're more mentally unstable than like a like your non-transgender person, and I think you
I,
reiterated
I,
that
I'm
in a
I'm confused.
previous
I'm
statement
confused
before
how
me
that
because you
indicates your wait. That was a complete misnomer of what you're talking about. You know that men are also specifically more likely to have a mental health issues, particularly, and also what you're not acknowledging is that mental health issues caused by transphobia and stigmatization is not to be blamed particularly on a person who has those particular mental health issues, right? You understand that, right? That is literally caused by the society that we exist in. So saying particularly trans people would be at a greater likelihood of having particular mental issues, right? That's not actually indicative of the fact that's because they're trans. It's actually indicative of the fact, in plenty of circumstances, because of the set of conditions that they exist in due to the stigmatization of trans people within our society, which you perpetuated on this very live stream today.
You spoke really fast, but I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, I don't know that I agree with
Well,
the
I
grand
ask you,
scheme of things.
can
Of
I ask you the
yes,
question though? Were you
okay.
polarizing America when you lied about the statistics in relation to mass, or were you
Oh, like
unifying America?
no, you kind of can't. I was asking about unifying America, and then you threw on me what the previous conversation was about trans people,
That's actually what you
and
did.
so you brought it up. I didn't bring up
No,
trans
you brought
people.
it up.
I did
You
not.
you brought up
You
you thinking that trans people are committing a huge portion of the mass, which I said was objectively false, and I told you that's actually
no,
not perpetuating better conditions for bringing people together when you make up
you
and bring
pivoting.
up out of your ass, right, misinformation and claims about trans people that then lead to more hate and stigmatization targeted towards trans people in our society.
Okay, when I said that, I said correct me if I'm wrong, but let's go back to
It
you
was
pivoting
very
away
much
from me
wrong,
stating.
and it's
My
historically
point,
speaking.
Parker, was that you were being rude to the guy in front of me, and then you brought up trans based off of my comment.
Trans
I
people.
didn't
Yeah,
bring it up. You brought it
I
up.
was saying that I was calling him a dumbass because of his particular position that was objectively wrong because he was actively trying to harm trans people. Because I explained it to him over and over and over again, right? And he kept repeating the same point, clearly showing to me that he didn't care about the facts or the evidence or what was more healthy specifically for children, and that he just cared about reducing trans people's access to healthcare.
Yeah, I mean, I agree
Must
that
be your emergency.
should have access to, you know, puberty blockers.
I'm sorry, you could say that I was mean, but do you think that Donald Trump's mean for having a nickname for every single person that he runs up against?
Oh,
A name
100%.
to
I don't
insult
think
them?
I'm not, hey, I'm not saying I support everything that he does,
Do you
but
think that's
also
leading
like
to more
I don't want to
polarization
support
or less polarization?
in that scheme of things more polarization. But I'm not saying that Trump's the one unifying the country. I'm talking about me and you.
Why are you asking me about unifying the country if you're not concerned about unifying the country in terms of who you're voting for?
I mean, because it's a small minuscule thing. It's like I look at the country as a business, and so it's like somebody that's obviously yes, you're going to bring up that had filed bankruptcy 6 times, but he's also ran very successful businesses, and so it's like why not let that guy, have a good chance of turning our economy around, which is what's not great.
Because he hasn't, and he's actively had worse economic policy, and I can demonstrate how it's worse economic policy. And economists agree with me.
I think both parties could use better candidates if we're being completely honest.
You
And
could
I
say
think
they
you
could
and I
use
can
better
both
candidates,
agree
but
on that.
I made a comparison. I compared the Democratic administration policy on economics versus the Trump administration's policy on economics, and the Trump administration's economic policy is significantly worse. Would you like to tell me a single economic policy from the Trump administration that's better?
Parker, this is your like field, and I know what you're trying to do and trying to manipulate me. You're a lot smarter in politics than I am, so I'm not going to sit here and try to downplay it
How is it
or
manipulating for me to
upplay it, however.
ask for? Wait, you said that Donald Trump is a good
Because I don't
businessman,
study
and that
policies, and you
because he's
know
a
that.
you said that Donald Trump is a good businessman, and that because he's a good businessman, it is the case that that would be good in terms of economic policy. Okay, so I asked you what is a single economic policy of Donald Trump's, right, that you think is going to be good for the economy. And if you can't mention a single one, then what's your point here?
Yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I think an increase in tariffs was good. The increase he did, I'm not going to say that that was good, but I do think an increase on tariffs could potentially bring in more revenue. And I think that there is could be a potential benefit. It's a gamble, it's 100%, but a lot of entrepreneurs are gamblers. I mean, there's a lot of people that start with nothing and take a chance on a business and it turns into something miraculous. So that was kind of, I mean, I don't want to go down like a rabbit hole here because you're gonna like take something that I say and misconstrue it, I feel like. But
How am I going to misconstrue what you're saying? I'm literally just addressing what you have to say and showing you how I disagree with it.
well, you just said you took that I said that he was a businessman, and now you're asking me all about his policies that I
Yeah,
don't sit
like
there and study
you
policies.
said that because he's a good businessman, that means he's better in terms of economics. And I just simply just asked you for a single economic policy indicating that to be true. And if you can't
Well, and
explain
like
that, then
okay,
why are you using that as a point?
Well, let's pivot back to this. Kamala Harris did right after her her all her donors or whatever. Didn't she have like spend more money than what she received? I believe I saw something like there was a statement that came out that she actually like the amount of money spent by her presidential campaign was like far more than what she actually received. Is that not true? And
So
that's what you want to run the country? Somebody
So
that
one,
doesn't
I
that
don't
has a
know if there's
spending
a, I don't,
problem?
I haven't seen a single source justifying that to be true. And secondly, Trump signed off on more debt-related spending. According to the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, a nonpartisan committee from the federal government, it indicated that Donald Trump's policies, or in his first term, led to that he signed into law, led to a 4 trillion greater increase in the debt comparative to the Biden-Harris administration policy. And then the campaign plans for the next administration, in terms of the Harris administration versus the Trump administration, indicated on a central estimate that Trump would do 4 trillion more in terms of debt-related spending, even take into account tariff revenue, according to the again for the Committee for Responsible Federal Budget, nonpartisan committee from the federal government, indicating the overall effect of their policy that they advocated for.
No, 100. I mean, and I'm not going to waste too much more of your time, but I wanted to jump on here. Mad respect to you. You're a smart kid, 100%, and I think that like you're doing good. Minus the fact of I think just like in your debates, there's just it's not progressive in the sense of sitting there and just telling people that they're because they don't your views don't align with their views, if that makes sense. Just
That
because he doesn't
wasn't that
think a
wasn't
trans
the
kid
only
should get
reason.
puberty blockers doesn't mean give you the right to call them.
No, it was specifically the very reason based upon the explanation of the conversation that we were having. And if you disagree with me calling my dumbass, sure, who gives a fuck? Honestly, genuinely, if that's your biggest critique of everything that we just had a conversation about, when you voted for Donald Trump, get a damn grip on reality. I'm serious. Where are your priorities at? Seriously, where the fuck are your
You
priorities?
you
None of that
treating
was an
other
issue with
humans
Trump.
like shit,
Name one time.
Parker.
Wait, name one time that Harris ever insulted Trump.
You're treating other humans like shit.
The
I don't
question.
care. Like
Name
I'm
one
not
time
Trump.
Harris
Stop
insulted
taking
Trump.
it. I'm not Trump, Parker. Chill out.
Wait. So if you don't care about insults in relation to who you're voting for president, why do you care to tell me about who I can and can't insult on my stream?
Okay, I mean, if Trump sat here and insulted me, I would have the same dialogue with him, but he didn't insult me.
No, if he insulted other people, would you have a dialogue and say that, oh, I'm actually not going to support someone that insults people like that, and instead I'm going to support the individual that I can't even mention a single time where they called him an insult? Because Donald Trump had an insult for every single person that he ran up against. So you would have supported everyone against Donald Trump because you care so much about insults like that.
Okay, yeah, sure, whatever.
Well, I'm serious. Why is it only an issue? Why is it not wrong when Donald Trump calls Kamala Harris the arsler, but it's wrong when I call the person on my live a dumbass?
I'm not saying I support everything that Trump does. Like, I don't have Trump tattooed on my forehead or anything like that.
But we're on a live of why you support Donald Trump, right? So if you care so
Yeah,
much about
I voted
insults,
for
then
him
you
because I thought that he would be able to. I didn't necessarily, I don't agree with how he was treating Kamala or everybody else he goes up against, but did I think that he had a better chance of running the country over her? 100%.
okay. So you could tell me you don't think that I should have called that guy dumb. Sure, I agree that that might have been not as the most productive thing in that context. I don't have to engage in actions that are always the most productive thing. But I am
Yeah, I
engaging in
mean,
actions right now that are incredibly productive. You know how many people this live, by the way, have changed their minds coming up on my stream? That was the
no,
only
no, I mean,
person
that's
that I
awesome.
said that the entire stream. That was the only person I said that to. And we've been live for 4.5 hours.
I haven't been here for the full time. I caught that and I didn't, that's what made me click to request because I didn't agree with it and I was just going to hop on here and I'm not going to be able to debate you on political stuff because you study policies 24/7 and I don't study them as much as you do because I have a normal 9 to 5 job. But I mean, kudos to you. You've done really well with your platform and I mean, you're making an honest living. So I no hard feelings there, but it's just like I just saw that and I thought that there could be more productive conversations being had between us normal humans outside of, I wouldn't consider you necessarily a politician by any means, but more of an advocate. So it's like why can't we all try to make the world a better place and stop counting on politicians to do it? Because if we're gonna count on politicians to make the world a better place, I think we're gonna be in the same spot in 100 years.
Okay, why would you go to a conversation about who we want in the person in the position of political office and be like, "Oh, we can't change the system by talking about politics," when there are thousands of people in this live that positions have been changed, particularly by me talking about politics?
I didn't say you can't change people's point of view. I'm just saying we can change how we treat others.
Yeah, so you understand that we can rely on politicians to change things because Trump actively
Like
has changed things.
you've got 7,000 people in here watching you call somebody a because they don't believe your beliefs don't line up with his.
I'm sorry. So, like, what do you get out of coming up on my stream and just telling me over and over again that you think that I messed up? I've already agreed that it wasn't the most productive action, specifically to call him a dumbass.
Okay. Yeah, that's literally all I was coming on here to have a conversation. Like, I mean, and then you spun me into transgenders, and I
Isn't it?
gave my point
Wait,
of
by the
view
way,
on it.
trans people. And now you specifically, you think it was more productive for this live not to talk about politics and talk about why you support Trump, and instead for you to come up on my live stream and tell me that I shouldn't have called the last person a dumbass?
I think maybe in the next, 12 months when you're doing these debates, if you have a more, respect for the other person on the other end of it, it'll be more productive for you. Yes,
You,
100%.
you
So
know
I
what I
think it
think will
was a
also be
productive
more
topic for me to
productive?
come on here and
You know
do.
what would also be more productive if you don't support a. You know, it'd be more productive if you don't support a guy that said he would date in 10 years. You know, it'd be more productive if you don't support a guy that incited a violent insurrection at the Capitol.
Okay, do you believe that people can change?
Well, I'm sorry, can you answer that question?
No, I agree with you, but I didn't vote for Donald Trump back in 1989 when he was so-called somebody
Oh, I'm sorry.
or had
What do you
infidelity or
mean? What do you
whatever
mean
it was.
so-called? He was held civilly liable of unanimously amongst a jury of 9 people. Do you think that are redeemable?
Is, correct me if I'm wrong, is Eugene Carroll the one that couldn't even remember the
Eugene,
year that she was sexually penetrated?
Eugene Carroll. You can't even remember her
The,
name, and she did say specifically 1996. Not remembering the year doesn't mean it didn't happen to you. There are plenty of
but
victims that don't remember the
she
year.
conveniently waited until he started to run for president to come out.
She in 2019 came out specifically.
Was he
It's
not
not
running for
by the
president
way,
in
and also when
2020?
you say conveniently, I think that's very ridiculous because not understanding the set of context for one, why it takes victims decades oftentimes to come out because of a society of people stigmatizing them for coming out, right, and not believing them, people like you. So actually the conditions that led to victims particularly not coming out right away, right, is the type of society that you're perpetuating right now by not believing victims, even after they've held their abuser accountable in a civil court amongst a unanimous decision of 9 people in a jury.